Welcome back to the Ancestral Findings podcast. Every so often in the world of historical research, we come across a record set that seems to bridge a gap, something that fills in missing years and offers a clearer look at a turning point in history. The 1915 New York State Census is exactly that. It doesn't always get the attention it deserves, but it should. This census captures a moment when New York was undergoing profound change, socially, economically, and demographically. Let's take a closer look at why the 1915 New York State Census matters so much to those who care about history, family research, and understanding the early 20th century in greater depth. This census was conducted exactly halfway between the 1910 and 1920 federal enumerations. And a lot can happen in 10 years, especially when those years include the rise of industrialization, a world war on the horizon, and the continued influx of immigrants seeking new lives in America. In 1915, New York was a booming state. Cities like Buffalo, Rochester, Albany, and New York City itself were expanding rapidly. Skyscrapers were reshaping skylines, factories were running at full capacity, and neighborhoods were becoming more diverse by the day. Immigrants from Italy, Eastern Europe, and other parts of the world were arriving in waves, often settling in dense working-class communities. What makes this census so valuable is how it captures that complexity. The 1915 New York State Census collected detailed information about each person in a household. You'll find the full name, age, sex, color, or race, relationship to the head of household, place of birth, citizenship status, and occupation. It even asked about literacy, whether a person could read and write. That might not seem unusual now, but it tells us something about the time. In 1915, literacy rates were still improving, especially among immigrant populations in rural communities. And for those studying immigrant stories, the citizenship column is gold. It can show if a person had become naturalized, was still an alien, or was in the process of seeking citizenship. You'll also see clues to how people were building new lives in America. A Russian-born shoemaker, a Polish tailor, an Italian fruit vendor, these aren't just names and occupations. They're glimpses into economic survival, family support systems, and dreams of stability. Now, what really makes this census stand out is how it documents urban growth. This was a time when neighborhoods were tight-knit and multi-generational. You might see an extended family living together in a tenement, parents, children, grandparents, and sometimes boarders or newly arrived cousins who needed a place to stay while getting started. If you've ever tried to understand the makeup of a household that shifted between the federal censuses, the 1915 state census gives you that chance. For example, you might find a couple with one child in 1910 and a full house by 1915, new children, a widowed parent, or even a brother-in-law who had fallen on hard times. These mid-decade updates give you a more detailed timeline. There's another important point here. The 1915 census came during a time when women were organizing and pushing for the right to vote. Though it doesn't specifically record political activity, it still places you in that historical setting. You'll find women listed with occupations, which helps track how work outside the home was beginning to expand. New York also had one of the most comprehensive state census programs in the country, and 1915 is a shining example of that. It was consistent, thorough, and widespread, covering both urban and rural areas with careful detail. And while some county-level records have been lost, many of them survive, either in state archives, local repositories, or online platforms like Family Search and Ancestry. It's not just about finding names. It's about the patterns you start to see. Streets lined with workers in the same trade, clusters of immigrants from the same region living side by side, children with Americanized names compared to their parents' more traditional ones. These aren't just statistics. They're windows into culture, heritage, and the slow transformation of New York into a modern state. So how do you use this census effectively in your research? Start by identifying known addresses or neighborhoods. City directories from 1915 or the surrounding years can be a great companion. Once you find your family, examine the neighbors. Often you'll uncover distant relatives, future in-laws, or familiar surnames that pop up again later. Pay attention to occupations. Was someone a weaver, clerk, or driver? Research what industries were booming in that area. You might discover a local mill, a garment factory, or a shipping hub that employed dozens of people in your family tree. And don't forget to look at the larger picture. This census wasn't taken in isolation. It was the product of a rapidly changing state, filled with energy, movement, and adaptation. When viewed alongside other state and federal records, it brings a richer understanding of how people lived, worked, and moved through life. The 1915 New York State Census is one of the most overlooked treasures in historical research, but it doesn't deserve to be forgotten. It offers more than just names. It provides context. It offers continuity between federal counts and a deeper view of urban and immigrant life at a pivotal time. As we continue the Lost in Between series, keep in mind that these state enumerations hold clues the federal records may miss. If you're researching New York families or simply trying to understand the American story from the ground up, this census is worth your time. Thanks for listening. And ancestor you're stuck on, I'd love to hear about it. Just head over to ancestralfindings.com and click on Contact to send me a message. While you're there, take advantage of our free weekly genealogy lookups. Explore thousands of articles and enjoy hundreds of podcast episodes. We've been helping family history researchers since 1995. And if you're looking for even more, check out our Genealogy Gold Q&A series over on Patreon. Thanks for listening, and as always, happy searching.